So welcome everybody. My name is Allison Schmidt and I'm the Executive Director for E4L Berkshire County in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and a member of the DLE Culture Chat Committee. I'm going to be moderating today's program. The DLE Culture Chat is a business-oriented open forum that examines changes and challenges in today's workplace. In just 60 minutes, we will engage multiple perspectives through a moderated format that promotes respectful conversation about vital topics with actionable takeaways. Our goal is to help you grow what you know and who you know in a welcoming, supportive professional environment. The sustained sponsorship of Dulye & Co. Workplace Consultancy enables Culture Chat and other DLE programs to be free. We have a blend of DLE members and newcomers in from diverse regions, industries, and positions. Let's take a few minutes to connect. So everybody that's here, if you could drop your name, your company, the title, your job title, and location into the chat. And then also, if you want to drop your LinkedIn profile, we can also grab that so we can start connecting a little bit more. Nice. Starting to see some people. Thanks for dropping your LinkedIn, Sarah. And for anybody that just came on, we're just introducing ourselves with your name, your company, the title, location, and your LinkedIn URL if you'd like to share. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Some people from Florida, some people from Maryland, Springfield, Poughkeepsie, New York. Awesome. Thanks, everybody, for being here. All right. So let's run through some of our ground rules for our culture chats. For right now, please stay on mute. You can use the hand raise function when we get the conversation going. Remember to unmute yourself when you're called on. We will give you the second to find the unmute button. And use the chat box for any comments or questions you have pertaining to the topic. As a reminder, the first 20 minutes of this program is being recorded, and then we'll stop the recording once we go into breakouts. A quick shout out of appreciation to the volunteers of the Culture Chat Planning Committee, who are the producers of today's event. We have Kellen Rocha, the Vice President of Investments and Private Client Advisor at JP Morgan Wealth Management in Boston, Aaliyah Morrow, a filmmaker at ASM Productions in Durham, North Carolina, Kate Abbott, a freelance writer and editor of By the Way Berkshires in Williamstown, Massachusetts, Julie Hagenson, founder of New Pathways Coaching and Consulting in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and Josh Brilliant, systems test engineer, systems test engineer, General Dynamics Mission Systems in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. All right, let's take a few seconds to, in the chat, answer our kickoff question for today, which is describe in one word what you want your relationship with your boss to feel like. Interactive, respectful, supportive, collaborative. Love all of these. Collaborative again, yes, definitely. Constructive, supportive, fair. Any other? Trusting, love that one. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for already getting engaged with us. So let's get this conversation going. We have two special guests who will help us get started today, leadership coaches Jeff Schreier and Janet Forrest. Jeff began his professional career as a CPA, focusing on auditing and tax preparation. In 2014, Jeff, acting on his passion for career coaching, entered a new vocational arena by becoming a certified personal life coach. He holds a bachelor's and master's in business administration from Pace University. Jeff currently serves as director of finance at Rockwell Group, an architectural and interior design firm located in New York City. Janet is a certified career and life coach specializing in career transition. She holds a certification in life coaching from IPEC Coaching and is accredited by the International Coaching Federation. In addition to her coaching practice, Janet serves as the director of the Dalton Free Public Library in Dalton, Massachusetts. She received her BA in Journalism and Communication Studies from Concordia University in Montreal. Thank you, Janet and Jeff, for your insights, and I'm going to pass off this presentation to you.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for attending our program, and thank you to Dulye Leadership Experience for hosting it. It's a pleasure for Janet and I to be here. So let's move to the first slide. So the basics for maintaining a strong relationship with your boss. So there's nothing surprising here. No one is expected of you, produce high quality work, respect deadlines, be responsive, and focus on improvement. So I first entered the workplace. I thought that if I just did everything on this slide, I get a nice paycheck every week or two, and my relationship with my boss wouldn't be an issue at all. And sometimes that was the case. But here's the hard part. Even if you tick off all the things on the list I just read, you and your boss need to communicate effectively. So what I mean by that is that your boss has to let you know what's expected of you. You have to ask questions to make sure everything is clear. And then the feedback comes. And your boss has to be able to give you that feedback in a clear and concise way, in a comfortable way. And you have to feel comfortable asking questions. So there's this loop of communication that's extremely important. But the reason I called it the hard part a moment ago, in order to communicate effectively, you and your boss have to have a good relationship. And Janet's going to talk a little bit about that.
So a key distinction between the relationship you have with your boss, have with many other people in your life, is that it's what you might call an involuntary relationship. You might be thinking, I have lots of great relationships in my life. I have friends, I have roommates, teammates. So what's wrong with me and my boss? And if I don't get along with my boss, is that because I don't have the right boss and I have to leave my job? And there is a saying out there, you don't quit your job, you quit your boss. We're used to forming connections with other people based on commonalities. So values, goals, hobbies, and it's a choice. And usually you can walk away pretty easily at any time. But a relationship with your boss is not necessarily by choice, and you need to maintain it because it's your job, it's your source of income, and possibly an important step in your career.
So putting Janet's comments in perspective with my career, I was fortunate that early on, I really didn't have any issues with my bosses. Things were pretty straightforward. My first leadership position, I worked for a family business where a couple owned the company, and they weren't financially oriented. And being a financial person, they kind of let me do my thing. When things got really interesting for me is when I took a job at a private company, and my boss was the CFO of a Fortune 500 company. And he really knew a lot, and he was disappointed in me. I mean, there's no other way to put it. But the way he communicated his disappointment, I had problems with it. And he wasn't the kind of person that I really felt very comfortable with. So it really brings into play what Jan's talking about, as far as relationships and how important they are. So because the communication wasn't easy for me to deal with, I had to really work on that. And this is what this workshop is really about. When the feedback isn't communicated in a way you'd expect, you have negative feelings. And you can't control what you feel, but you can control how you act. So when we're talking about building a better relationship with your boss, you want to act in a way that doesn't harm the relationship. And we're not talking about doing great work. Okay, we're talking about being resilient. We're talking about the ability to overcome these negatives and move forward in a positive fashion. And Jan's going to give us some examples of difficult feedback.
Now, I want you to take a minute and read each of these and ask yourself, does this sound familiar? Maybe a boss might have had said this to you before. And if you feel comfortable, go ahead and put in the chat any emotions or feelings that come up for you, or even a simple emoji. Ooh, I see a steam coming out of the nose. Ooh, a head exploding. That's good. Yeah, anger. Oh, I'm not savvy enough, Josh. Arm wrestling? Oh yeah, hands up, don't know what to do. Yeah, so I'm seeing anger, confusion, frustration. Yeah, not being clear. Yeah. 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 And so just sit with those feelings. We're going to talk a little bit about what you can do about it, but I think it's really important to kind of honor the feelings that come up for you because they're real and they're valid. Demotivated, shame or frustration, that's a big one. Yeah. Okay. So thank you for doing that. What we're going to do now, Jeff and I, is we're going to introduce you to a 4-step process to help you to gain a better perspective of what's happening and how you can take action. And here are the 4 steps. Step 1, consider your role. Step 2, focus on your boss. Step 3, look within. And step 4, move forward thoughtfully. And we're going to take you through these one by one. Step 1, consider your role. Now, think back to the first slide we showed you and think about what is expected of you in your job. Have you been showing up and doing the work to the best of your ability? And it never feels great to get feedback, negative feedback, especially when it's really poorly delivered, as we saw in the examples before. But if you can kind of set the tone aside and ask yourself, what might be true in this feedback? What might they be trying to tell me? Now, I imagine some of you on this call might be thinking, well, I've done everything I was supposed to do, and I'm still not, it still wasn't good enough. And if that's the case, that's okay. I totally understand. We're going to move on to step 2. And step 2 is focusing on your boss. Now, let's try to look at things from your boss's perspective. Why might your boss be acting the way they are? And you might find out that even though they're coming across in a negative way, it might not be what they're intending. Or they might be struggling with a challenge or difficulty you're not aware of. So when we can muster up a little bit of empathy, we can gain new insights to where maybe our boss is coming from. And here are some helpful things to consider about your boss that you might not have thought of before.
Okay, so first of all, the items on this list, they're not going to make you feel better immediately, but the idea here is to take these things into consideration, and over time, they can help put the relationship in better stead. So let's talk about the first one: lack of leadership experience training. Just the next rung on the ladder. If you look at your boss may have reached that leadership position not because someone said, "Hey, this person's a great leader," but probably they're very good at what their basic job was. So they could be a lawyer, they could be an engineer, they could be an accountant like me, or maybe a very good salesperson, and they move up the ladder. But unless they've got leadership experience and they embrace it, it could be difficult. Could be difficult to work for them. They may be following a poor example. How were they treated by their bosses? I know that one of the worst experiences I had as a boss was I think I just came from a group of bosses that weren't very aggressive and I wasn't aggressive. And I gave an employee a review and he looked at me. I'll never forget the look. It looked like he wanted to kill me, but I think he really just wanted to punch me. But luckily he didn't either. But I knew that the problem was that during the year, I wasn't giving him the feedback he was supposed to get. He should have gotten, and he was very surprised and disappointed with me. So that can happen to you. Stresses, you may be aware that their boss is putting pressure on them, or maybe the company's not doing well and there's pressure on your boss for that reason. That's something to consider. Positive qualities, it helps to look and say, well, what can I get out of this boss? And I love this one because personally, that boss I talked about from a Fortune 500 company, he taught me an awful lot. He was I'm about to say he was great. I don't know if that's the right word, but he taught me so much. And I realized that he wasn't looking to get rid of me. That wasn't his goal. He wasn't looking to demoralize me. He really wanted to make me better at what I did. So obviously, take the monkey off of his back. But I learned an awful lot, and I was very appreciative. And then the last one, the nature of the relationship goes back to what Janet said. So before you jump out of the frying pan into the fire, consider that your next boss, they may be the same challenges. It's just a tricky boss-employee relationships are difficult, they're involuntary, and take that into account. If they're abusive or toxic, you should never tolerate that. But just consider that these relationships are difficult by nature. And now Janet's going to talk about looking within.
Yeah, so it's important to focus on your boss, where are they coming from? What are their shortcomings? But there's another equally important step, and that's looking a little deeper into yourself, step 3. And our thoughts and our feelings and our actions are the results of many factors going on in our life. And the events and situations that surround us will influence how we respond to others. Becoming more aware of this, what these factors are, will put you in a better position to respond in a way that's beneficial to you. And what you'll see are different ways that might help shift your thinking. So the first one you see there is limiting beliefs. And limiting beliefs are just these rules about the world we have around us that inhibit our ability to reach our potential. So one rule people might have about themselves or about their world is when a boss tells an employee to do something, they need to do it. Now, if that thought is bouncing around your head as you go through your workday, it's going to impact how you speak to people, how you behave, what you ask for or don't ask for. So if that new belief were something like a boss's job is to support and encourage the growth of their employees, if that's your new thought, you might behave and act differently. Another way to shift your mindset is to think about interpretations, what ones you have. And in this case, what I mean by interpretation is it's a story or narrative you make up about something that happened. So listen to these 2 sentences. My boss never responded to my email. They must have hated my idea. Now that first sentence is fact. You can prove it. You sent an email and your boss didn't respond. The second sentence is just this story you made up about what happened. So what if we made up a new story? Like, I bet they have a lot on their plate and they'll get back to me when they can. Now, neither of those stories are objectively true. So if you're going to make up a story, just maybe make up one that's going to make you feel better, right? There's also assumptions. So assumptions in this case, what I mean is because something was true before, it must be true now, or because something happened before, it must happen now. So for instance, you might have a thought, last time I shared an idea with my boss, they didn't act on it. And that might have been a year ago when you first started at the company, but now it's a year later. You have more information about the company, you have more information about your boss, your ideas might be more thought out and informed, and you might have built a better relationship with your boss. So, it's going to be different this time. And something really important to do is, as Jeff mentioned, think about the positive qualities of your boss. So a really practical way to do this, just list every day 3 things that you appreciate about your boss. They could be even little things like, I appreciate that they show up on time every day. And finally, think about ways to center yourself when you're feeling your buttons pushed, when you're feeling triggered. And it could be simple things. Go to the bathroom for 5 minutes and just have a little alone time. I like to watch funny videos on my phone. That usually lightens my mood. And go back to basics, find time to meditate. I know Julie Higginson in her last presentation about a year ago talked about box breathing, which is you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4, and go in a circle until your body resets. So just to recap quickly, you want to think about limiting beliefs, interpretations, assumptions, positive qualities about your boss, and how you can center. So in step 4, we bring it all together and we consider what we learned in the first 3 steps and think about how we can develop a more thoughtful response. So, which is what we're going to explore in the breakout room. So I'm going to pass it back to Allison. Thanks so much.